Q&A session. I have a few questions here. So perhaps I would like to start with one question here. How can a Hong Kong SME participate in infrastructure projects in Indonesia? Are those opportunities limited to Indonesian companies? Perhaps I would like to Ambassador Dewa to answer that, and then afterwards maybe Sun Yen can also supplement from a taxation perspective. Again, I mean the question also asks whether an Indonesian partner is needed for investment promotion. I mean for infrastructure projects in Indonesia. So firstly, Ambassador Dewa, and then Sun Yen to answer these two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. I think I will try to approach from the transport. Harry just know that previously that with this PPP, private sector and the government, so it's basically all supply chains can be involved, yeah, that including big and small company. So let's say when we build this LRT in Jakarta, yeah, so at the beginning, why now we have this under the president of Jokowi, we have this model which is where's for the big infrastructure, private sector and the government can work together. So by changing the law, in the past there will be no private sector will involve in the railway because it's very expensive, yeah, and then it's not profitable to private sector. And now we have a cooperation as being mentioned by Mr. Adil just now with the example with this is 5 big construction company. So those companies being tasked by the government, and then they have money, they have a capital, and they join it, yeah. So, but when these big companies join it, is not on. They have to find out the other supply chains for them. So that's the SMEs can get involved. Yeah, I understand that there's a lot of this type of companies in Hong Kong can involve. I just give example when we build the LRT. Yeah, so in the process there is a number of small companies also involved in the construction. So and then how you do it, then you have to see the project. So as mentioned by Mr. Harry, that there is what do you call it? There is a solicited project where the government has a project. There's an unsolicited project. So my suggestion that in that very important to see the solicited project and then what kind of project it is, and then if you have the advantage on that specific technology, then you can involve it. I'm convinced there's a number of companies in Hong Kong will be able to reap benefit on this in the future.
Thanks very much. Very reassuring. So perhaps Sun Yen, can you comment from the taxation perspective?
Yeah, I think firstly, I think construction business or activities for company to enter into Indonesia, I think you need to consider about the regulatory or licensing requirement. I think for doing business, of course, you can have different type of form like limited liability companies, and you can do it by way of branch. So it depends on the activity you will need to perform. For example, if you are coming in to undertake short-term project or construction project as a subcontractor for 1 year, 2 years, some of it we can see they are setting out a branch rather than a company. A company will more use for long-term purpose. And I think we also will need to check under the regulatory requirement based on my experience. Of course, the other officer could supplement is they do have some restriction on foreign shareholders. Therefore, for some industry, you will need to have local partners, depend on industry and activity. So you will need to check on that part also. And as I said earlier, if you need to subcontract to other subcontractor in your activities, then probably you will need to form as I said, the joint operation, a consortium with others so that to mitigate the double taxation issue that I mentioned just now.
Very good. Thank you very much. Next question is, what are the top cities to invest in Indonesia besides Jakarta? Perhaps I would like Pak Yomi to answer this question, please.
Thank you very much. I will show you my slides. The last two slides. This was announced by the Indonesia's investment board a few days ago. The top locations for foreign direct investment are West. Next. West Java, Jakarta, East Java, Banten, and North Maluku.
Can you specify some cities in those places, like in West Java?
I don't really have the specific city of from the West Java province. But I assume it would be Bandung, since Bandung is the capital. But I'm not sure. I will check it. I will check it and get back to you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Then let's move on to the next question. I have a question here asking, what are the options of settlement currencies in Indonesia? How can SME avoid exposing themselves to exchange risk? Perhaps Mr. Agli can deal with this question, please.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Raymond. Basically, according to Bank of Indonesia, which is the regulator regarding the mandatory use of the rupiah within the Republic of Indonesia, it is obligatory to use rupiah for any cash and non-cash transactions held within the territory. However, Bank Indonesia made exemption for certain transactions, including these foreign direct investments. So the options of settlements currencies in Indonesia, there are several options, including especially the major currencies, including Hong Kong dollar or maybe Chinese yuan, if the companies or if the businesses are coming from Hong Kong or China. But out of that, most of the major currencies are accepted. And then how to mitigate the risk? I will try to answer this from two point of views. Maybe the first one is from banking side point of view. To mitigate the exchange risk, actually there are some services, or we call it hedging mechanism. We can name a few, like forward transaction, or option transaction, or cross currency swap. For example, let's say we use the forward mechanism to hedge the forex risk. If, let's say, from Hong Kong to Indonesia, as the investor, let's say you would like to convert your Hong Kong dollar to Indonesia, and you feel that in the coming months Indonesia rupiah will be appreciating or will be stronger compared to Hong Kong dollar, you can try to hedge the forex rate that you want today, which is you will maintain and you will cover your risk from the depreciation of Hong Kong dollar. But on the other way around, if you think that Hong Kong dollar will be appreciating or will be getting stronger to Indonesia rupiah in a few months, I think it will be an advantage for your side. You don't have to do anything. And on outside of banking point of view, one of the ways of mitigating of the forex risk if you are already operating in Indonesia, I mean, using more local, how to say, using more local raw materials will be also covering you from the exposure of the foreign risk compared to importing some raw materials. I think that's my answer, Mr. Raymond.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the tip. Of course, we can always, if you have individual questions or need clarification, I'm sure we can always approach Mr. Addy's office directly. So you are based in Admiralty in this area?
Yes, Raymond. Actually, we are neighbors.
So you are just next door.
Yes.
Very good, very good. Okay, perhaps I can also open the floor to questions. Firstly, to those that are physically present here. Can you identify yourself, your name, and then also the question you want to ask? And also if you want any specific speaker to answer this question for you.
Nice to talk to you. Here's Eddie from Hong Kong. So I involved in that and had discussed with Pina of Indonesia before on the projects. So here, thanks for the speakers, and I have a few questions to Henry, Andy, and So-Yin. I shall put it fast. For here are 6 key points in short. Number 1 is EPC to Henry. So Henry, can you explain a little bit in short about EPC? Is it possible to have an EPC at the beginning, at the time of discussion with a PPP project? Because it's a bit difficult to discuss PPP directly under the pleasant economic situation. And EPC, this is number 1. And how about the procedures and solicited one and unsolicited one? Because who will responsible for the feasibility study of the unsolicited one? And do you think that all the solicited one will have feasibility studies? Because feasibility study will be very important for the potential investors or EPC contractors to get into the discussion. This is number 2. I can repeat it if I not clear. And number 3 is to Henry and Endley about money. Can the project be a souvenir guaranteed one? And how about the financing? Just discuss, is it possible for any and your bank to arrange Islamic finance here in Hong Kong or somewhere else from the other region? This number 3. And number 4 to So-Yin. So-Yin is now in Shanghai, but you are from Malaysia. I believe you are from Malaysia and quite familiar with Indonesia. So I want to ask about the solar. As you mentioned that you're involved in that and quite familiar with the solar. Is it possible to obtain PPP? Because that's quite different from the traditional construction project from Malaysia and Indonesia, or Indonesia here this time. What are the difficulties of attempting PPA for the solar construction power plant in Indonesia? I think this is my points. Do I need to repeat them?
Okay, perhaps.
Henry.
Okay,
Henry
since Dr. Harry has already left us earlier, he's not joining us for the Q&A.
Oh.
Maybe unless other speakers want to answer on his behalf, maybe we'll just leave those questions out first.
Yeah.
So is it clear? Are the questions clear to our speakers? Anyone want to start with answering it? If you need clarification, I'm sure Eddie can clarify. But otherwise, we can go straight into the answers.
I want to ask my last question. He referred to TP. Is it the transfer pricing?
No. Power purchasing agreement. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
To the state grid.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody knows about the electricity industry, the state grid? Can answer Eddie on this question?
I think I'm not able to answer for that. Sorry, go ahead.
So Ambassador Dewa, you want to help with this question?
Yeah, I cannot answer specifically, but we have to find out the right answer. for this purchasing agreement. But I can relate to some the follow-up question for the first question for the question posed to Mr. Henry, the Minister of Transport. Yeah. So for the solicited project, as being confirmed by Dr. Harry, yes, the government will provide the FS. So when the project was tender, then after it's agreed everything, then you come to the detailed engineering design. But for unsolicited, then it is need to be negotiated. One the project that I understand, let's say from the project funded by JICA in Indonesia, in for transport, for give example, we have the extension for double track from one trace in between outside Jakarta to station in Jakarta. So because the project is funded by JICA, say all FS funded by the JICA. So then when the project is come together with the government, then the government will join in, and then how the project funded by the two. That's 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 for the FS I can find. I can provide some answer, but of course it will be depend on other ministry project here, because there's some specification on project on infrastructure, like I don't have the answer what the policy in the Ministry of Public Works and Housing where Mr. Harry is working. So, but in relation to some of the project in the Ministry of Transport, I can give that question answer. And there is also some arrangement but in certain projects in Indonesia where the project is related to the property managed by state-owned company. Yeah. So just example like on some ports which is related to the managed by state-owned company, but the asset will be I mean the construction will be built and the asset of the government. Then you need some discussion on how the FS will be. Yeah. So it is some need to be find out how to do that. Yeah. Then come up with this purchasing agreement again. But I cannot provide the answer on that. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other speakers who want to deal with the question just posed by Eddie?
No, I just want to clarify. I'm not the expert on the valuation or the pricing side, so I'm not able to comment on the pricing. So sorry for that. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll leave it first. If any of our speakers and also Mr. Yomi, if you could just provide other answers later on, appreciate it very much. Okay. So any other questions on the floor? Okay.
Yeah, hello. My name is Michael Young. I'm one of the executive committee member of Dashun Foundation. I have two questions. One to the third speaker. It was mentioned in one of the slides that there were 9 key factors for investment. One of the items is technology. Could the speaker elaborate a little bit more about what's the content of this technology means in this context? The other question is for the fifth speaker. It was mentioned that the green building is one of the key area that Indonesia is interested in. If I want to do a new business, like a consultancy on a green building, could you advise me how I could start a new business in Indonesia and at where? Thank you.
So the third speaker is Consul Yomi, and the fifth speaker is Sun Yan from UI. So can you two gentlemen answer this question, please? First start with Mr. Yomi.
Okay, thank you so much. Indonesia, in the last few years, especially during the COVID-19, we have seen the growth of the technology, information technology, and everything is changed into digital technology. And Indonesia, and we really need, Indonesia is very open to the investment on this type of investments. The penetration of the smartphones and the internet, and the use of financial technology will open so much opportunities in this field. So if you or anyone from Hong Kong interested in investing in this type of technology, you are very welcome.
Second question from Mr. Sun Yan about the green building you mentioned in your slides. Yes, please.
I think the question is about how to start or plan to enter Indonesia market.
Yeah, put it short. How to start a new business on green building consultancy.
I think in a short way, company to do a market entry study to understand the market opportunities, and also most importantly the market entry requirement, regulatory, any restriction. I think that is most of the time the company will start with. Then you will need to do your business, so-called business case, to evaluate the whole investment plan. And then of course, as I said, then the form of entry, set up a company, location selection, incentive, and what are the tax costs, and then structuring. So normally for companies entering new market, they will have to do all this type of step so that they are prepared for the entering the market. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we are about on time. So on behalf of the organizers, the collaborating organizations, I would like to thank everybody, particularly our speakers, who have spared their very valuable time to share the experience and expertise with us, and also for our audience, for your patience in listening to the different presentations. I'm sure you will find them very useful. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the third seminar in the 6 seminar series. So we still have 3 more seminars to present to you. So I would urge you also to watch out for our information that we will send out when these seminars are organized later this year. So we look forward to welcoming you again to our other seminars. So with that, let's give another round of applause to our very insightful, very helpful speakers.